I hope you had a blessed Easter weekend. I am meditating on the whole experience I've had. It's a 1-year anniversary of me being saved. Last year, a number of profound events happened to me, and Jesus revealed himself to me in a number of events that have happened, which I've described in other videos here. And I wanted to talk about the profound depth of his sacrifice and a question that often comes up about something he said in his final moments on the cross. And that is, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Now, I've seen non-believers question Christians about this and say, if he is God, why did he ask this question? And the reality is, he is quoting scripture to the people who were watching him so that they would recognize he is in that moment fulfilling prophecy. Specifically, the prophecy of King David in Psalm 22, the Psalm of David. In that psalm, David describes many of the things that happened to Jesus during the Passion and on the cross in such great detail. The piercing of the hands and feet, the casting of lots for his garments, being mocked, hated by man. David describes him as being a worm and not a man, despised. The worm he was referring to was the crimson worm, often used by cultures at that time to dye garments red. And this particular worm would attach itself to a tree, a piece of wood, to die, to have its eggs. And the eggs would then feed on the blood and the body of the mother. And 3 days later, they would leave. Such a profound metaphor for what Jesus went through. Now, this psalm was written nearly 1,000 years before Jesus was crucified. So in that moment when Jesus calls out that first verse, he is proclaiming the fulfillment of that prophecy and his connection to David. God promised David that he would have a descendant that would rule forever. And so the layers of meaning in this prophecy are quite astounding. The fact that he so accurately described the things that were going to happen to Jesus, and the fact that Jesus ultimately was in David's lineage and the descendant who rose into his kingdom, which rules forever, are, to me, just beautiful. And the overall meaning of his sacrifice for us is also beautiful in its terrible tragedy. So to me, when people ask that question, that is the way that I look at this. This isn't him crying out to God asking that question. This is him stating that first verse to make sure that everybody who was viewing him in that moment understood that he was the fulfillment of that prophecy. I hope you had a blessed Easter, and I hope this message fills you with the Spirit.